Music and entertainment are critical in everyone's well-being. It can actually change your mood, and that's what we're looking for, is that opportunity to embrace that. Noteworthy is a talk show where I get to have conversations with some of my favorite people. I get to find out what drives them and what is their passion. These are their noteworthy stories.
Hello and welcome to Be Well TV Live. I'm Heidi Brumbach with Be Well TV, and I'm excited today to introduce my speaker, who is a human resources broker. She works with companies to help them with outsourced human resources needs, including payroll, regulations, all kinds of things. So I'd like to welcome Denise Merritt from Merritt Business Solutions. Hi, Denise. Hey, Denise. So,
can you hear me all right?
There, now I can hear you now. So, Denise, welcome. So I want to ask you first, what is a PEO and what does that mean? What does that stand for?
Okay. A PEO stands for a professional employer organization. This is something that became popular in Florida back in the 1980s. PEOs then were called employee leasing companies. And what happens is a business would take their employees and place them under a PEO for all of the employee administration: payroll, workers' comp, human resources, compliance, unemployment administration, benefit administration, risk management, all of those things the PEO would take on. Uh, with the politically correct movement, it changed from employee leasing to PEOs, or professional employer organizations. And now they're throughout the US and doing well helping businesses.
So, what kind of business is what size business is a good fit for this? Because I know there are a lot of individuals who have started their own company this year. In fact, one of our new shows, Brand New Day, focuses on individuals that have been furloughed and started a new venture. So those new ventures are, perhaps going to become large businesses someday. And I think that there's a large population that is looking at those questions. How do I move forward when the time comes with employing people, hiring employees? How do I manage all of those pieces that I'm not necessarily skilled at, like knowing all of the human resources stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Great question. So PEOs can be good fits for businesses all the way down to one employee to thousands of employees. So the one or very small companies typically would be construction companies that are usually that need workers' compensation coverage and have a hard time getting it in the standard market. So high risk businesses like roofers that maybe have 2 or 3 employees, or long haul trucking companies, might be a good fit for a PEO because they can cover them in the workers' comp, actually sometimes for less than what the high risk pool of Florida could cover them. So it becomes a good fit for those small companies. But then on the reverse side, maybe thousands of employees could be a good fit because maybe you have a business that is in multiple states and you have multiple compliance pieces, because different things are state run as well as federally run. So now you have to understand taxes in all the different states and how the payroll works. You have to understand how the workers' comp is different in all these different states. And then you want to provide a culture and an HR that has continuity for all of those locations. So sometimes for thousands of employees, it could be a good fit too. But the sweet spot's kind of really between 20 to 50 employees, where we find probably the most businesses looking at PEOs.
Well, it's so great to have resources like you because, in full disclosure for the audience, we actually have our human resources outsourced and our payroll outsourced with Denise. She manages that for us, and it's very useful for Technish Creative because we do normally work all over the world. We're working with both freelancers who are independent contractors and employees, and having a resource like that can abide by all of the rules in all of the different states and municipalities is really key. There's no way a small business like ours could learn all of those rules and handle that internally. So I certainly understand the value. So
Yeah.
why would a small business, in your opinion, invest in a PEO relationship?
Yeah. So, when you start as a new business owner, like many of those today that are moving away from working from a big company because of COVID now to opening their own business, they're doing that because they're passionate about whatever they're doing. Like we used a chocolate company, a new chocolate company from someone who had been furloughed from Disney and for all of our client gifts. So they started that because they were passionate about making chocolates, but they don't really understand all the laws that govern employees and how to navigate payroll and human resources, workers' comp, and all of those things. Well, that's where a PEO can step in and help. And some of the statistics out there that make sense for business owners. If you're with a PEO, you're 50% less likely to go out of business, 7 to 9% generating higher revenue than other businesses that are not with a PEO, and 10 to 14% greater retention rate of employees if you're with a PEO versus not. So there's statistical proof that being with a PEO is going to help you grow your business faster and keep you in compliance, which is wonderful. But to me, the biggest reason a business would want to go is so that that owner can focus their time on growing that business and not all
Yeah,
these other tasks.
exactly.
Mhm.
I know as a business owner myself, I've read countless books over the years, like E-Myth by Michael Gerber, which I highly recommend to people, or even The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, who both of them kind of talk about when you enter your business, when you start out, it's because you probably well, this is more from E-Myth, but it's because you have some sort of skilled trade and you're very good at what you do. And then business owners often get into business and then they spend 95% of their time focusing on learning and doing all of the things that they don't know how to do, and they kind of lose track of being great at their trade. And sometimes as people grow, they make the mistake of investing in people to take over the trade part so that they can focus more time on the administrative part, and that's so opposite of the way to succeed, really. Focus on what you're great at and let other
Yes.
experts step in and partner with you to help your business grow, just like this. So, do you
Yeah.
recommend any other like outsourced HR services?
Sure, great question. Yeah, not every business is going to be a good fit for a PEO. If you've done great at risk management, have a low workers' comp experience mod, you've done great at unemployment, you have a low unemployment tax rate, it may not make sense to move you into a PEO where you fall under their rates for those things. So then we have offer payroll services like we're doing with you at Technish that can meet those needs, and we can add in HR and combine it with that. We also provide a full benefits department to help businesses understand and navigate healthcare, which is and the benefits world, which is also usually crazy and scary for folks to do. So we help with that as well.
Well, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I would actually love to dive into a little bit because the major medical has become such a hot topic and really quite confusing topic for employers. I've noticed for my small business, it's actually much more cost effective for someone to purchase their own individual insurance compared to what it costs individually for a corporate plan. So when a small business can't necessarily afford the investment of offering those medical benefits or health benefits to an employee, what are some alternatives to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, with one of the strategies that we use, and really for no matter what, we come in and do a complete needs analysis. We understand the business, we understand where they're at financially, we understand what their goals are for their employees, and then we will really try to put together some things that are going to be beneficial. And often, like you say, a small business owner, particularly that's just starting out or a few years in, may not be able to afford offering group health plans where they have to contribute at least 50% of the lowest plan offered for an employee. So then we can look at strategies of either putting in individual plans. And the reason often individual plans are lower now than group is because some will be eligible for subsidies. And so we don't want to lose that if that's the case for the majority of your employees. So we may put individual plans in, we may put a telemedicine product in, and then couple that with supplementals. You know, the question we ask often is, how long could your employees go without a paycheck? And we know in Florida, most employees can't go more than a few weeks without a paycheck. And so then short-term disability becomes important, accident plans become important. And we look at different strategies that we can combine an array of benefits to shore up those employees the best we can with what options the employer has financially.
So the world is certainly in a different place in 2021 compared to where we were at, well, it's been about 365 days now. Things have changed a lot. What are some of the latest HR updates that employers should be aware of?
Yeah, I think the ones that are going to impact us in our area the most will be the Florida law that went into effect January 1 for minimum wage. So minimum wage went to $8.65 on January 1 and will go up to $10 an hour September 30th. So imagine what's the mix in Florida of businesses. We are known as the hospitality, world is here in Florida primarily. So we have hotels, we have restaurants, we have the all the different industries for hospitality, and many of them pay minimum wage, so it's going to impact them greatly. Now, not only is it going to go up to $10 in September 30th, but every year after that, it's going to continue to go up to 2026. So business owners need to begin strategizing now. How are they going to reduce cost to help with this increase in payroll that's going to have to be out there for the folks that were getting minimum wage that are going to now need to be bumped up? So we can help strategize with that. And then the secondary thing that I was going to say that's new is that hasn't really been created, but it's vaccinations. So with COVID, can you get your employees vaccinated? Can you require them to be vaccinated? What if somebody refuses to be vaccinated? What policies do you need to be put in place to have for those situations? Should you pay for the vaccination? Is it going to be covered under your health insurance? All of those things are some of the newest questions that are being asked based on what's out there today.
Well, that's an interesting topic to bring up, and I might be blindsiding you, so if you can't answer this question, it's okay to just take a pass on it. But what kind of legal issues arise? Can an employer actually require vaccinations? Is that allowed now?
So the SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Management, I was reading, and I hope I'm not misquoting them, but I was reading some of their thoughts, and they're not recommending that you mandate employees get vaccinated. They're recommending that you highly encourage it, but that you do have a policy for those who either for religious reasons or for medical reasons choose to opt to not get vaccinated, and that you put that in place. I'm sure there's going to be some liabilities and compliance pieces. OSHA gives governance on keeping your workplace safe. So many employers may see encouraging vaccination or mandating vaccinations as fulfilling that requirement. So there's going to be some legal battles of what's the best thing to do here. and what should you as an employer opt to put in your policies. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on to a slightly different topic, because I know that one's sensitive to a lot of people. I want to talk about independent contractors. And, another thing that's actually gotten confusing for both employers and employees in the last year has been a 1099 independent contractor versus a W-2 employee. Who's paying taxes on which? What's the difference? Can you explain the difference between those two roles?
Sure. This is something that we actually find a lot of times business owners are not doing correctly. So the IRS.gov has a lot of guidance on who's eligible to be an independent contractor. Not everyone is. So I'll just give you 3 questions to ask, but there are many more out on IRS.gov for you to take a look at and make a discernment if this person should be classified as an independent contractor or as a W-2. So you would ask, as an employer, am I telling them when to go to work, where to go to work, and am I providing the tools for them to do their work? If you answer yes to any of those 3, most likely they should not be an independent contractor, but should be classified as a W-2 employee. Okay? And this becomes important for multiple reasons. We're going to talk about now how it affects them, taxes and who pays what. So an independent contractor takes on the full responsibility of Social Security and Medicare. That's 15.3% of taxes that come out for Social Security and Medicare. A W-2 employee, it's called an employer match. So the employer pays 7.65% towards Social Security and Medicare, and the employee does a matching 7.65% out of their check. An independent contractor is not going to have an employment tax taken out, but they're also not going to have unemployment coverage. Okay, so a W-2 employee will have the employee won't have anything taken out, but the employer will pay state unemployment tax into the state fund and federal unemployment tax so that those employees can have unemployment coverage in the event they get laid off. The other thing an independent contractor won't have is the workers' compensation coverage. So a W-2 employee will, if they work for an employer with 4 or more employees in the state of Florida, you're supposed to have coverage if you have 4 or more employees, unless you're in the construction industry. And then it's when you have 1 employee. Okay. So if you work for either a construction company or a company that has 4 or more employees, then most likely you're covered by workers' compensation as well, if you're a W-2 employee. So those are kind of the main differences between an independent contractor and a W-2 employee.
So I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper with that because this is bubbling up in the country with California's new regulation that they passed, was it 2019, I think, when they talked about the way an independent contractor is defined. And it was big in the entertainment industry because musicians that would collaborate with other musicians and be in an album or something. It would apply to actors. It applied to freelance writers, to Uber drivers, so on and so forth. And their definition redefined an independent contractor and said, you're no longer an independent contractor, you're an employee now. So that, I think, is, I've heard talk about that bubbling up really around the United States. What's your take on that?
I actually haven't heard a whole lot about that, but California does tend to be the state that has a lot of more employee-related laws than other states. Florida is not far behind, as well as New York tend to have additional laws regarding employees. And often the U.S. and other states will follow suit once they see how it goes in California. So the fact that they're doing that could mean down the road, it could roll out to other states as well, for sure.
Well, and I will say that there are certainly pros and cons, but one of the pros is a lot of times the workers' comp, the healthcare coverage, the liabilities, the taxes sometimes is left out and forgotten because the relationship is not formalized as an employee versus an independent contractor. So who knows if it's a good or a bad thing? I think it's still up for debate.
Right.
So Denise, I want to ask you about some of your success stories, because I know you have some great stories working with many different kinds of business, specifically in the Orlando
Yeah.
area.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So, yeah, we're real proud of the job we do and how we help our clients. I'll share just a few. One is actually a meetings company that we've started work with, I think now about 3 years ago. And what we did is we went in, we did a full needs analysis to see what they were doing currently. They were actually working with a PEO. They had about 43 employees. And we took a look at their needs, which was reducing their cost and the benefit arrangement, um, helping them with more IT on the HR side, and bringing in more services on the HR side. So we were able to accomplish all of that, move them to a different PEO that we recommended, and save them about $63,000 a year in cost, which was significant for a 43 employee company. Um,
Yeah.
the next story I'll tell is about a local company here in the Central Florida area. That company was down in South Florida. That's a local Serve Pro. And the Serve Pro has been with us about 2 years, and we were excited to talk to them. We do periodic check-ins, quarterly check-ins with all our clients. And she said, "I'm so glad you called. We just got done meeting with our CFO. We're up 300% in revenue. And what we can really tell, the only thing that's really changed over the last couple of years to help us get there is our relationship with you." And it went totally back to that concept of, if we can take these hours off the business owner and give them back to them so they can focus on growing their business. That's what happened here. We were able to get the owners to quit looking at the employee administration side of things. We were handling that, and they were able to focus on growing their business, and now it's up 300%. So huge success story there. We're real proud of. Um, the last one, if it's okay to share, is a benefit story, and this one's near and dear to my heart. So one of the things we do that I think is really different than a lot of benefits companies, we try to actually become your benefits team. So not only do we strategize with the employer, we want to educate the employees on what they have. And then once they enroll, we want to be there at time of claim. And so, as you know, most employees, once they enroll at open enrollment, they forget what they enrolled in. They may remember they have health insurance, they may remember they have dental, but besides that, they're not going to remember, did I get that accident plan? Did I enroll that hospital plan or critical illness or things? They may not know. Such was the case with this young man who had been unfortunately diagnosed with cancer. And so our benefits team met with him, took a look at everything he had enrolled in, and he even told us, I would have never looked at all of that and realized I had this coverage. And we found that he had enrolled in a critical illness plan that was going to pay him $20,000 to help him with his cost toward his cancer things that were going on. So that's what we do. That is really different than most agencies, and that I'm very proud of, because I know we're going to make a difference in people's lives. And think about that employer now with that employee, how grateful he is that that employee cares for him that way.
That really is an amazing story, and all three were great stories. One thing that I really appreciate you and respect you for is you're always looking for creative ways, more things that you can offer to your clients and the public even. So if somebody wanted to learn more about your offerings and more about your company and in general, where do they find you?
Well, you can find us online at our website, Merit Business Solutions. It's meritbusiness.solutions, so not .com, but .solutions. And you can find us on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And we'd be excited to hear from whoever, and we're just here to help. We're very consultative and educational. There's never any pressure to move forward unless there's a good reason.
Well, you've been a great help to us, so I can say firsthand that Denise is a great resource for anyone who's just getting into business or expanding their business or in a very advanced stage of their business. Denise makes a great partner, and she has a great team that I think are watching from home. So thanks, ladies. Yes. Everyone, thank you, Denise, so much for being a part of the show today. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you watching from home. Everyone, have a great day and be well.